Comic Books and Chill, the home of the Stash Bros. I'm Mike, chilling with Chris.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another show. We appreciate you tuning in. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy some more comic book content.
This week, we have a special guest, veteran color artist from Marvel, Morry Hollowell.
Mike, I am so excited to have Morry on the show. He's worked on some of my absolute favorite stories. I can't wait to speak with him.
But before we talk to Morry, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please comment.
Let's get started.
Our next guest is an artist that's been involved with some of Marvel's best-selling titles. Stash fam, does Amazing Spider-Man interest you? Been there, done that? What about Civil War? Checked off on the list. Chris, Old Man Logan, what about that?
My man, I'm in nerd heaven right now.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Stash Land, we bring to you the it color artist of all of Marvel Comics, Morry Hollowell.
Yes, welcome, sir.
Hi guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for joining us, Morry. Let's just dive right in. We're curious to find out, how did you find your niche in the comic book industry?
I attended the Joe Kubert School of Art, and after my first year, that first summer, I got a job working with McNabb Studios. Mark McNabb is a popular colorist that done a lot of Marvel work, and so I'd become his assistant that summer, and then the following years, I continued to be his assistant every day after school. So it was just a natural progression of I was coloring more than anything else. So I naturally got better at that than anything else I was doing. I'm originally from Alaska, born and raised. And when I was younger, I'd go camping and fishing with my dad. But whenever we'd hit a lodge or something, there'd be a spinner rack. And that was my favorite thing. My very first comic was a Norm Brayfogle Batman, where Batman goes up against the demon, and I've been in love ever since. I pretty much stuck to Batman. He was my favorite. But he slowly introduced me to the world of DC Comics. Because, like that first comic I picked up, the demon was in it. And I was like, who's this guy? A demon from hell? What? So it was really great to, eventually see Superman, come in there and introduced to the whole DC universe. And you slowly fall in love with all those characters. And then once I realized there was a comic book store in town and that there was Marvel Comics and there was Image Comics, I fell in love with all of it, and at high school, I would end up just doodling all day. I was the kid in back of class not paying attention to his French homework and drawing Batman instead. So when it came around to finding colleges and stuff, there were some art schools I was looking at, but none of them were really clicking. Like, I knew I wanted in the comic book industry. And I forget exactly where, but it was probably an ad in one of the comics for the Joe Kubert School. I looked it up finally and realized, well, this is a school that specializes in comic books. That's where I'm going. This is where I want to go. And luckily, I had parents that were willing to support me and shipped me off all the way to New Jersey, which is a huge life change, and attend.
I have been itching to ask a question about Old Man Logan for weeks since we found out we were going to have you on, honestly. And I want to know what's your experience dealing with that title and also your interactions with artists Steve McNevin and Dexter Vines.
Well, me and Steve and Dex go all the way back to CrossGen Comics. I think after I graduated Kubert School, I was working on and off for Mark still, but I also was in a few other studios helping out, doing backgrounds and stuff, just trying to do whatever I could. But I eventually ended up at a convention where I was showing off my work, and CrossGen Comics was there. And Bart Sears and Brandon Peterson were looking at my portfolio, and they thought, hey, let's give this guy a chance. And they offered to move me down, and I took it. And so ever since being at CrossGen Comics, we had these little cubicles where we're all put together as a team. And Steve was in there, and Dex was in there. Actually, my first few days there, it was actually Josh Middleton. And so he was working on that title. Why am I drawing a blank? Meridian. He was working on that title first. There was some sort of scuffle where it ended up he was removed from the book, and then Steve was put on. And so I've been working with Steve and Dex all those years up until, CrossGen fell apart. And Marvel came down really shortly after CrossGen fell apart and picked us up. And I almost immediately after being let go from CrossGen was working with Steve again on the 4 series for Marvel Knights. I knew what Steve liked. I knew what Steve didn't like. And that's my preference, to work with an artist long enough to get that relationship going and being able to really put out some powerful stuff that everybody's happy with, the whole team. Old Man Logan was after Civil War. So we had done that huge project with so many characters that, it was beautiful. Like every character I'd love to touch, I got to touch and work on. And but then we got to Old Man Logan, and with Mark Millar and the adult theme, we were allowed to do blood. It's really one of my personal favorite projects as well. If they got us all back together to do Old Man Logan again, it would be one of my dreams come true.
Let's go. Let's announce it, please. Come on.
I wish I had any powers to make that happen, but I don't, unfortunately. But it was always one of the projects I look back to fondly, because it was vicious. Wolverine got gruesome in that book.
Is Old Man Logan, is that the project that you're most proud of in your story career? What do you think about when you think about your career?
Most proud of? That's, again, it's like asking what my favorite character is. I could say it's Batman, and it probably is Batman, but really, I love Spider-Man just as much. I love Wolverine just as much. Before I had a kid, I'd spend something like $800 every Wednesday. I bought a ton of comic books. I've been so privileged to be able to work with so many of these fantastic artists. Steve, he wasn't really known when he was at CrossGen, but man, he blew up, and it was such a privilege to be able to work with him for as long as I did. And then all the artists I've been able to work with since, I've worked with artists that I've had up on my walls. Joe Quesada, I'd have his Batman work plastered all over my wall in my room. My mom would be so mad because I'd be putting all these images up on my wall. So eventually, when I was able to do some of those covers with Joe Quesada, man, it was a dream come true. Like, how am I here? How am I doing this? And it still to this day, I'm offered some of these projects and artists that just blow me away, and I'm really spoiled to be working with these people.
While we were trying to schedule this actual interview, the big D word in comics comes up: deadlines, right? Deadlines are big, huge reality in the comic book industry. And so I just wanted to ask, on average, how much leeway do you get before the deadline? And then the follow up, in a perfect world, how many pages can you do in one day?
That's a loaded question. You're part of a team. They'll make superstars out of individual writers or pencilers or whatnot, but it's teamwork. So the penciler's got to get it in time to the inker. The inker's got to get it on time to the colorist. The colorist's got to get it on time so the letterer can get it done. So again, every book is different. If you're on something monthly, you better be prepared to get that in on time so the letterer can do his job and it can get to the printers. That being said, I always try to be vocal about my own speed. I've always liked to joke I'm probably the slowest colorist in the industry. I can get something done in 2 hours, but that doesn't mean I should or do. I tend to take my time. My typical page is more like 6 to 8 hours.
Okay.
And I try to only take a page or one cover a day. I personally like to have the time to sit on something as well, if there's that opportunity. Often there's not. Sometimes I'm given a cover and it needs to be done by tomorrow morning. Who's at fault? You can argue whether it was the penciler, the inker, or maybe even the editor just forgot to send it out to the colorist on time. It's teamwork. So, but I'll get something. If it needs to be done in the morning, then I'll stay up all night to get my 6 to 8 hours on it. So I'm happy with it. I'm still a fanboy. I want to be happy with what I've done, especially if it's an artist that I respect and love, or if it's somebody even new that I've seen and really has blown me out of the water. I want to do my best to enhance it and not make everybody want to run and find the black and white version of it.
We wanted to see if you could share something with us so you can walk us through your creative process.
I'm going to share